Hi, thank you so much for the outpouring of love on my previous video. It means a lot, and it actually does mean something. I know that many people see the world as very black and white, but I think that most of us can agree that it's really not that simple. I understand the reasoning behind it. I do, because in the grand scheme of things, absolutely. Did a nice comment in this digital space of ours. Did it actually fix something in my life in a practical sense, or take away my grief for that matter? Of course not. But does that make it meaningless? I just really don't believe that. I don't even care if it's say it is a stranger, somebody who's never watched my videos before, never will again. They just, for whatever reason, happen to notice a really short video. And so they watched it because they got curious and they felt empathy, sympathy maybe. And they took a few seconds out of the day to wish me well behind an anonymous username, most likely, because let's be real, that's what most of us still have today. That's still human kindness and compassion. And that is something. I I know that there is a lot of bad in the world. There's war and famine, all kinds of terrible things, but there's also a lot of good. And unfortunately, there are going to be times in our lives when the bad outweighs the good. And I know it's easy to. It's like I got up last week. I think it was Wednesday. It doesn't matter what day it was. In any case, I got up and I made my first cup of tea and felt well rested. And as I was sleeping, I looked out the kitchen window and the sky was so gorgeous, just filled with all these different colors, gradients. And I felt so extremely grateful to be alive in this amazing world of ours in that moment. But in complete opposite, just the other day, I woke up from a nightmare and I didn't really want to get up. I was tired. I didn't want to stay in bed either. And it made me think back to that moment because when I got up, the weather was shit and the sky looked like shit and it felt like proof. And I was filled with so much sadness and heartbreak. I just hated this world and my life. So much pain, so much loss. But you know what? I glanced to the side and I realized, well, at least I really like my curtains. I love the color and the pattern. Now, was that enough to actually change my mood in that moment? Honestly, no. But at least I acknowledged it. I think it's really important to acknowledge both because we want life to be as good as much as possible. So we can feel happy most of the time, but we can't be happy 24/7 all the time. Bad is going to happen, and we want it to be as balanced as possible if it has to be both. Um, and I get it because I have two people in my life that are so. I know what it's like when you care about someone and you wish you could fix something for them, you could just heal them to take away the pain, and you want to just redirect them to something positive. There is no doubt in my mind that it came from a good place. But I was asked how I was doing when my mom passed. I took over her two cats, and then like 6 months later, one of the cats got sick, and I told this person then that I had to make the right, but still, of course, very painful decision to let him go. And the response that I got was, you know, um, hey, you still love Cosmos? That's fantastic. Are you still going to the show? It's so good to have things to look forward to. What you do? And this whole thing. And it's kind of like imagine being in a funeral and with nothing being related, nothing planned, completely out of the blue, someone comes in full clown costume going, honka honka, I can do a dance number. Um, because they see all this pain. All these people that I care about, they are hurting. I want to take that away. Okay. But it's like read the room. And it is really important for us to acknowledge both sides, right? The good and the bad. And trust me, I've ignored things in the past. When I was in my early and mid 20s, I used to go, when things were overwhelming. I didn't know how to deal with it. And that helps in the moment, sure, but it definitely doesn't help long term. Eventually, the floodgates are going to open and it's just going to come crashing down on you even harder. It's not worth it. That is why it's important for us to take that in and process those emotions, right? And get through it rather than ignoring it. But other people should do the same because I understand that it came from a good place, as would a clown at a funeral, but it actually doesn't help in the long run. And I know, same with if people start walking around eggshells around you, start comparing each other. Oh, I can't bring up this dress that I have at work, or this thing, or the thing where I dropped my favorite mug and now it's broken, and because she lost her mom, and she lost her cat, and now her dog has cancer. It's like, but the thing is, if you start holding back all of that and changing the dynamic of a friendship, that also turns into a sense of loss. Um, and if you're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna bring up her mom. I'm not gonna bring up the cat. I'm not gonna bring up her dog. I don't want her hurting. I am already hurting." Okay? So we can't talk about it. Um, what it felt like to me in that moment, even though I could think about it realistically and logically, and I knew then and I know now that it comes from a good place. But what I felt like in that moment was me saying, I am really sad. My cat is dead. That's fantastic. You have Cosmos. You got the show you're looking forward to. You have so many things going for you. You have so much to live for. Your life is so amazing. And you're like, "Ugh, emotional whiplash? Did you hear what I said? That's what you take away from it." And that makes it feel like it's being ignored. I'm not the one ignoring it, but then you are. Okay. That that brings me to my second point, actually, that my dog is swirling amongst the stars now. She has been since shortly after my previous video. I, long story short, the cancer, I just read too much. And that is not something that I want to talk about more in depth right now, at least. I don't want to sit here and go through all of the details. I think about her every day. I miss her every day, but I'm not ignoring it. Instead of sweeping it under the rug or hiding it away, putting a lid on it, whatever. It's more like I'm taking it and placing it on a shelf next to me. It's fully visible. I accept that it's there. I accept that it's happened. But I don't want to sit here and really dig deep. But there's a thing, if ignoring it is kind of like hitting pause, hitting stop, then a healthy boundary, a healthy break would be pressing stop, pressing, you know what I mean? Stop is ignoring it. Pause is a healthy break, right? And that is something you can still mention my dog. You can ask questions about my dog. And if it's unrelated, if you feel like, oh, she's talking about all these heavy things going on in her life, but I'm just really curious if she's watched this movie that came out this year, you can ask that. I had really meaningful, deep conversations with my really, really close friends that to say that if you're going through something, talk to me. I'll talk to you, and we trust each other to mention if it's too much. Hey, I just not a good mindset, headspace today. Give me a couple hours, and I can call you back. Okay, I'm not a good listener right now. That's okay. That is better than them being overthinking, me overthinking, being like, "Ooh, I don't want them hurting. They're hurting. I am already hurting." So it's okay. And I know that when you care about someone, I've been on that side of things too. You wish you could just erase the pain, okay? You wish that you could just put a band-aid on it. But the thing is, it's like you're taking this blinding light of like positivity and they go blind. And it's like you're doing harm by doing the good. It needs to, it can even be a good reminder that things could be worse. If it's said in the right way, that doesn't mean that you have to have the perfect words. It's perfectly fine to say, hey, I don't really know what to say. And maybe what I am saying isn't really helping. Just like I can only imagine how much you're hurting, but remember that you haven't lost everything or everyone. You still have Cosmos and you have me, you have your friends, Um, that's nice, but just acknowledge that there is bad going on. Don't just turn this, like super cheerful, like, whoo, clown at a funeral. you know? Um, so yeah, I'm gonna stop it there before I talk even more in circles than I already am. And maybe I forgot to make some point that I've been thinking about lately, but I think that's the most important thing. So that's that. Thank you. Yeah, bye for now.